So, this video is definitely a little different, hence why we're hanging out here in my living room and not in my usual filming spot. I think we need to just take a moment to find some peace, some calm, before we get into the adventure that is today. Get yourself a little snack, a little drinkity drink. I had good intentions. I thought, oh, how fun and quaint. Let's cook some recipes from the Claude Monet cookbook. What could possibly go wrong with that? Come to find out, everything, apparently. You see, Claude Monet was big into food. Aside from painting, food sort of dominated his interests. His early life was affluent, his family were successful business people at Le Havre, and knew exactly how to enjoy life with the money they had. They threw parties and concerts and owned beautiful homes and villas, and thus Monet had the connections to begin honing his skills early on, starting with drawing caricatures, which sold extremely well. But the joy and good fortune didn't last. Monet's mother passed away in 1857, and he became resentful of school, and so he left to pursue painting in Paris. That is where he befriended artists like Renoir, Sisley, and Cézanne, among others who would go on to join the pantheon of the great Impressionists. And like many artists, he began to struggle with money, eventually cut off by his father when his girlfriend Camille, one of his models, became pregnant. He increasingly begged his friends for money whenever the struggles came up, and come up they did. The art world was not ready for the Impressionists yet, but Monet wouldn't see great success until much later when his work was taken up by American collectors and people began to warm up and love it for what it was. Camille passed away in 1879, and in 1892, Monet married his second wife, Alice. By this point, he discovered the beautiful landscape of Giverny, where his stunning estate and gardens still are today, and you can visit them. With his returned and blossoming success, he could once again afford the lavish lifestyle that he preferred, and dove back into his passion for food. One guest to Giverny recalled, "He eats like four. I promise you that is not just a manner of speaking. He'll take 4 pieces of meat, 4 servings of vegetables, 4 glasses of liqueur. Good food, made with the freshest ingredients, especially from his massive garden, was his greatest love. Any visitor to his home would experience the, by that point, legendary meals à la Maison Monet. Lunch first, you get the best cuisine in France in this house," he would say, and then treat his guests to the cooking of his favorite chef, a woman named Marguerite. And Monet and Alice organized meticulous cooking journals, often including the recipes from their friends like Cézanne or Millet. I've always been interested in Monet's recipes, and luckily, my friend Yuna bought this book on them during one of our visits to a bookstore, and so together we decided to take a crack at recreating Monet's favorite dishes and rating them from 1 to 10. Little did we know, this would slowly become a catastrophic endeavor. Come cook with me. But first, a word from today's sponsor, June's Journey. If you're like me and you love history and vintage-style murder mysteries, as well as decoration games, then June's Journey will be right up your alley, just like it was for me when I started playing the game a couple years ago. It's a murder mystery hidden object game where you play as June, who is investigating the suspicious circumstances surrounding the deaths of her sister and brother-in-law. The hidden object scenes are really reminiscent of those old nostalgic I Spy games, with how unique and creative each one is, with such well-crafted environments and delicately researched 1920s Art Deco flair. As you follow the story, you find new clues, unlock prizes, and can use coins that you find to buy things to decorate your island. I've now spent a long time building up my island, and I'm pretty proud of it, but there's still a bunch of cool stuff that I'm working towards adding. The story gets more and more complex over time, introducing some really fun 1920s themes like bootlegging, as well as new and unique locations destinations like Paris, and you can visit other islands and participate in unique special challenges. I found it extremely helpful as a way to de-stress while still keeping my brain active, and a game this artistic with such an interesting plot has been fantastic. Download June's Journey for free by clicking the link below in the description or using the QR code on screen. June's Journey is available on Android and iOS mobile devices, as well as on PC through Facebook Games. Thank you to June's Journey for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to cooking, or rather, failing to cook, Claude Monet's recipes. So it definitely started off strong. We looked through the book to pick out what we were going to make and settled on 3 dishes. The stuffed eggplant, the red wine steak, and the famous green cake. Awesome, perfect. We headed down to the grocery store, which I forgot to film, and then came back with our stuff ready to go. First, the eggplant. The recipe said to first have the eggplants, slice into the flesh, and then sprinkle with salt. Follow me. And then let them sit for an hour. Wanna watch King of the Hill? Then you rinse them, fry them on the stove, scoop out the flesh, and set them aside. Then you saute together a mixture of mushrooms, parsley, shallots, and garlic. This is where we started deviating from the instructions. The green cake had called for making food coloring from boiled spinach, which you'll see later, and we didn't really want to waste the spinach, so we just figured we could add it into the mix, no harm, no foul. We also couldn't find shallots at the store for some reason, so we just used a regular onion. Well, then you add in the eggplant guts, and you fill up the eggplant skins with the stuff. Then you toast some breadcrumbs and broil those bad boys, and voila, there you go. We made the tomato sauce last minute. So it may not be wholly accurate. We used different tomatoes, and you know what? We broke Claude's law, and that's our fault. So if it tastes like crap, then I'll take responsibility.
It's the effort that matters.
It's the, it is a thought that counts.
It's the time and effort.
Yeah. Okay, I can see why it said to serve it with the tomato sauce now, because I think it really does tie it together. What do we rate it out of 10?
I think I rated 8. I think out of 10.
I think I'll go 8.5 out of 10. I think we could have cooked the eggplant differently because I cut it wrong. So that's my fault. Yay! Woo! It's a winner. This was where shit started to hit the fan. Silly me, right? How hard is it to fuck up steak? I mean, come on, I have a barbecue-obsessed dad, I lived in Texas for 8 years. There's no way that I can fuck up a steak dish. Anyway, so you start off making the sauce. Since we were making 2 servings, we doubled everything. It tells you to melt 2 tablespoons of butter and stir in 2 tablespoons of flour. Okay, sure. Then you're supposed to add the broth. Put a bookmark in that. Anyway, then you remove it from the heat and heat 4 tablespoons of wine and shallots, which again, we used regular onions. Why our grocery store didn't have shallots but does have 5 cheese sections, I have no idea. Priorities, I guess. So you cook that until the liquid is reduced by half, and then you strain the liquid and add it to the butter mixture. Well, funny problem, there was no liquid to strain. It would be impossible to call this creature a sauce. It literally looked like purple mashed potatoes or like really well blended raw beef.
Don't look at it.
The people need to know how we fucked up. Our slop. Claude Monet, I'm so sorry.
You know, Monet's probably in his grave like, be so for real right now.
I hate you fucking bitches. You should have never gone to art school. Look what you did. This is an abomination. This is for emergencies only. And I think this is an emergency. Let's go. But despite the horrors, the show must go on. We are gathered here today to witness a crime. What's your rating? Before.
You know what? You never know. I'm gonna be generous and give a 3.
Oh, a 3.
You know what they always say: lower your expectations, and life is much better.
That's true. I like to have no expectations at all. Because then you'll really be surprised. But I'm not telling you if it's in a good way or a bad way, so let's just
try it. I'm ready from 1 to 10.
Okay. Yay.
You want to do the honor?
Yeah. It is my fault after all. I mean, it's my fault that this happened. Although, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know that it would have been better if I hadn't fucked up.
I'm not gonna look at your face. Because I want to try it.
I'm gonna try the slop by itself. You know what's really weird? It literally tastes like mashed potatoes.
I mean, it's not that bad. Like, I can kind of taste the butter and wine. Like, you know what? This is gonna sound crazy, but I think I would eat the slop by itself.
I'm not gonna actually. No, like literally, try the slop by itself.
No, literally.
Wait, is the slop good? Wait, did we do something here? I'm gonna go with a 7 out of 10. What's your new rating?
7 as well. Are we back to our slop era?
I think I'm back in my slop era. I'm so sorry, Claude Monet. No, this is seriously fitting weather for the green cake section. Very ominous. Surely it can't get worse than that, right? 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 Well, it's time for the green cake. Wow, it's actually coming down. Jesus. I really like the rain, but I have to go out in like 30 minutes. Now, funnily enough, this cake was actually one of the technical challenges on the Great British Bake Off. That should have been the first bad omen, not just because that probably means it's difficult enough to be a challenge worthy of getting evil Guy Fieri to stare at you with his big scary eyeballs, but because they literally changed almost the entire recipe. How bad is the original recipe that Prue Leith had to change the whole thing? We were about to find out. Step 1 was making green food coloring by blanching spinach and then straining it and pressing the spinach through a sieve, which was not working. What is cooking without violence?
It's gonna be a
Instructions really fucking unclear, Monet.
Actually, back then they wouldn't have a blender, so
No,
I don't know.
yeah, but Claude Monet and his blender.
Did they like grind it?
I mean, if they did, he didn't write it down. So with that done, we greased the only pan that I could find at Ross Dress for Les's kitchen goods section and accepted that this cake was gonna have to be a polygon. We realized things were getting sick and twisted regardless, because now you have to get a saucepan and beat the eggs with the sugar until the volume doubles. Okay. Then you beat in the flour and add the pistachios, kirsch, butter, and lemon zest. Well, then you bake for 30 minutes. In the meantime, you start the pistachio cream by combining pistachios, kirsch, and butter with spinach food coloring. And in a saucepan, you combine sugar, eggs, flour, and milk, and then you add the paste. After removing from the heat, you then add more butter. More problems, because this shit was crazy liquidy. By this point, the train had totally flown off the rails, and we were starting to lose our minds, and had also been drinking wine this whole time because I don't own wine stoppers yet, and I didn't want to waste it. And then the cake came out of the oven and, let's just say it wasn't looking good. Actually, it was pretty bad to look at. I think at this point we just went full delirious because we decided to make like some kind of weird whipped cream frosting out of the failed pistachio cream by dumping a whole carton of heavy whipping cream into it and letting my KitchenAid mixer beat its ass to death. What if we're onto something and we like create something so fucking good and we're never able to replicate it again? And it just got worse. What the?
No.
It's like I don't know if we could save this, but let's try anyway.
I mean, we're already there.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah. These moments you need to drink. I literally have no words. Like, we're creating life, I think. What is that? We definitely deviated from the script a lot, and that's our fault. Actually, it's probably my fault. Are you prepared?
At least we know we don't have to ever do this again. The amount of water that's out is concerning.
It's leaking. Bon appetit.
Bon appetit. Actually, it doesn't taste that bad. I just don't like the texture.
It's the texture. I think this is our worst one yet.
I don't know if I like the middle.
No.
Or this cake.
It was just fun because it literally started off so strong.
Mm-hmm.
And it was consistently downhill from there. I think that's the moral of the story today is have less confidence, hate yourself more.
Lower your expectations.
Lower your expectations, yeah.
I'm still eating it.
Tastes like shit. Oh, I'm still eating it though. What's your rating?
Texture 1. Aesthetics -5. Flavor, I would give it a 4.
Okay.
The flavor's not so bad.
So if we do -5 plus 1, so that's -4. And the flavor was a 5, right?
So we're at 1.
So it's a 1 rating from you.
It's 1 rating for effort.
I'm gonna give it a solid 3.
Oh wow, 3.
I'm being really generous because the flavor is actually like not bad. Like the flavor is pretty good.
It's really just the texture.
Yeah, like I can see where if the texture was correct, I can see where Claude Monet would feel like this is acceptable. And maybe the fondant, which we didn't do, would add something to it. There's many things that are not here actually, like dignity for one thing. I like to think that Claude Monet would not hate us for the way we've bastardized one of his favorite dishes. I think instead he would applaud us for the act of creation. After all, he was a man who understood how it felt to do something different artistically and be despised for it, to be turned down. But actually that's bullshit, and I think he'd hate our guts.
Actually, I changed my mind. This is a 0.
So, what did I learn from this venture? Well, after the ordeal was over and I had finally cleaned my kitchen, I texted my friends about the demonic cake, and the wonderful Chrissy D'Angelo, who has much more baking skills than I, looked at the recipe and deduced that the instructions are, in fact, completely buck wild. You beat all the air out of it on the stove, so of course it doesn't rise. It's possible that some things were lost in translation, or some details were left out, as they often are with recipes from this era, or there's the unavoidable issue of today's ingredients at my grocery store in Chicago definitely being different from whatever Marguerite was using from the garden in Giverny in the early 1900s. Either way, I've been assured that I am not a bad cook. I was just set up by the recipes, and my experimental hubris definitely didn't help. Well, anyway, thank you for cooking some horrors with me on this honestly cursed adventure. Have you ever made any of Monet's recipes? Let me know down below. And don't forget to check out June's journey by clicking the link below or using this QR code. But until next time, wash thy hands, wear thy mask, and support your local farmer's market.